Soccer. Today is game day. U.S. men's national team versus Eltry. It's what we've all been waiting for. The third time these guys are matching up in 2021. And today we have the pregame show. We have a live watch along during the match and a postgame show. 4 hours of constant content for USMNT on State of Soccer. Guys, let's kick it off. Let's get started. I'm really excited. All right, guys, welcome back to State of Soccer for tonight's pregame show. And joining me today, I have Adam, also known as USMNT Stan. What's going on, man? How you doing?
What's up, man? Good to be here. Excited to jump on and talk a little USA Mexico. And it's like crazy that we can do stuff like this. You know, I feel like it wasn't that long ago. You just called your friend on the phone to talk about the starting lineup if you had a friend who cared. So it's just awesome to be a part of a YouTube channel and a community. And yeah, thanks for having me.
No, thanks for joining me today. And that's exactly right. This new establishment of USMNT YouTubers and constant content covering the game. That's what we're doing tonight. And guys, let's throw up the starting 11 right now because this is fresh off the press right here. And we're kind of excited with what we see. This is a good starting 11 under Berhalter. Throwing it up right now. Let's add to the stream. And there you have it. So first things first, Adam. Obviously, we kind of knew that Zach Steffen was going to start based off of the early rumors yesterday, or Greg essentially broke the news, right? So off the bat, what are your thoughts there with Zach Steffen over Matt Turner?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm less passionate about this debate than I think a lot of other people are. I see the merits both ways. I do think Matt Turner's a better shot stopper. I do think Zach Steffen is better playing with his feet. I'm a little confused by the rest of the back line and how it kind of blends with Steffen. I thought we may see, either Richards or Scally, just somebody who, was a little bit better with their feet than the guys who were in there, just to kind of go with the vibe of, hey, we're actually going to try and play through a little bit. But, not seeing him this fine. Like it's okay. Zach Steffen's a good player, man. He can, he can stop shots as well. My hope is we don't have to have him under duress the entire game with the style of play that we're going to, go employ. That's the hope.
And that's the exact thing. I think my only worries are, Adam, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think I'm right here. I saw Tim Howard's statement right about, I agree with him completely that ultimately he could be one of the best goalies of all time for the U.S. men's national team, but he's not getting playing time. Do you think the fact that he trains behind Ederson, he has some of the best goalie coaches in the world, goalkeeper coaches in the world at Man City, do you think that kind of overcomes playing in MLS? We'll keep it at that. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I don't.
You don't, yeah.
I mean, I do, right? Like to a certain extent. Like I was big on my whole thing last year. I was like, this is great. This is awesome. Like I love that he stayed there, didn't get loaned out for a year and could do exactly what you just talked about. And then I think a lot of our hopes was this year he would, now go take a lot of what he learned and actually put it into live gameplay. Because, the worry with him is rust. I was a keeper through high school, in my sophomore year was, like one of the only years I ever played keeper my entire life and didn't play. Right. But I would get thrown out there at the end of a game, or I'd get thrown out there against a worst opponent. And I was just rusty, man. And I wasn't working out with Man City and Man City's coaches every day. But I do think keeper is one of those positions that there's a lot of feel to it, and I think to me, it's harder than a field position to not play for a month and then get thrown into the mix because everything you're doing is very high pressure, and one mistake from your position can really cost you. One small mistake can cost you the game, right?
And the only thing I can equate to it right now is Steffen has had the pressure in terms of, he started that Nations League final match. He started cup matches for Man City, a couple Premier League matches. So he's had the pressure there and the media and the constant attention on him. I'm not worried about that, but it's the aspect of him, more or less maybe not having the reps in game. But let's move on to the back four here. I'm assuming it looks like it's going to be a general 4-3-3 for Greg Berhalter's U.S. men's national team with Anthony Robinson left back. We're looking at Walker Zimmerman and
you got Miles.
Miles Robinson. You got Miles at center backs, the dual center backs there. No Chris Richards. And then right back, we have Deandre Yedlin. I have no issue with Zimmerman personally. I have no issues with Yedlin. What are your thoughts on Yedlin over Scully?
Yeah, I guess like my hope was we could see Scally, kind of taking a little bit of that Dest role on where,
Mhm.
I think he would be the best impersonator going forward of Dest, of the guys that are in this camp. Just,
Sure.
more technical, the ability to combine. And I loved what we were doing down the right side in that Costa Rica game specifically, with, really Weah and Dest and Musa even sliding over and kind of interchanging, and the interplay between them I thought was beautiful.
It's
I
beautiful. Yeah.
thought that a lot of our most dangerous moments came out of that, including the Dest goal and the Weah goal, came from that play. And, I'm with you, right? I said this before we kind of jumped on live. Like, I have no problem with Deandre Yedlin starting. I see it. It's kind of makes a lot of sense in terms of Dest not having a lot of reps with the team. Berhalter probably not trusting him as much. It's the safe play, but the safe play can get you beat, right? Like in a game that you're going to need to score some goals and build some play through Mexico. Gosh, I don't know. So once I'm kind of with you. I don't hate it, but a part of me is just like, God, it would have been so cool to be bold enough to be like, Scally, get out there.
Yeah, you're right. But I think we'll see Scally in time. I'm sure we possibly could even see him against Jamaica next week. Very possible, right? Especially with Berhalter's kind of inconsistencies with his lineup and throwing players out there and shaking things up. Tyler Adams at the 6, captaining tonight. That's really no surprise there. And we have the dual 8s in Yunus Musa alongside Weston McKennie. What are your thoughts there? I mean, I think right there that midfield is kind of solidified. I'm really excited to see Adams go against Alvarez as well in the midfield there.
Yeah, I think last year, I don't remember what game it was, maybe the Wales game or Northern Ireland. I can't remember at this point. It's been so long. Whatever the first game we saw the MMA midfield was in that friendly, I remember watching that game and just being like, gosh, can we just lock this in for the next decade?
Yeah.
And so it's for me, it's really cool now. I was really worried that he was going to get, I'm going to steal the scuffed language here, cute with it, right? And kind of go Leggett or Acosta and go more experience. But it's cool to see that Musa has earned his trust to the point that he's like, this is it right here. MMA, throw it out there. Let's rock, let's roll. And, other than maybe Gio penetrating in at some point, right? Or other talented midfielders who could, I feel great about MMA through this whole cycle. If that's what we do, then, I'm all in on it. And I love seeing Adams with the armband again. I think the little I've seen on the behind the scenes stuff, and just his overall demeanor, he just seems like such a consistent presence. I love that, he could become just like, hey, you're the captain, man. Like, you captain the ship here. We all trust you. We all love you. You're so consistent. Go get it.
Outside of Tyler Adams in this starting 11, who do you see as being the secondary captain? I personally would go with Brendan Aronson. I don't know about you. It's just his demeanor on the field as well. And it seems like he always steps up for the U.S. What are your thoughts outside of it? I'm kind of curious if he gets substituted tonight. I mean, probably passing out to Pulisic. Pulisic would probably take over at some point, but what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think probably my guess is he would give it over to Zimmerman out of these guys that I'm seeing on here. I don't know. A lot of it is just like how well, when it comes to captainships, I coached college basketball for 13 years. And so often it was how well is somebody liked, not how good are they as a player, right? It's just like, are they well liked? And so that's just so hard for us to know. I have no idea how well Zimmerman's liked, how well Aaron's liked, but and I think for some guys, and this is where I would hesitate to give it to anybody even relatively new, which Aaronson's getting his feet under him here with us, is that captainships can kind of add an extra weight onto the wrong person, in a way that can throw their own individual game off. So that's where I would kind of potentially hesitate with Aronson or even Weah or any of the younger kind of newer guys.
Interesting point there with them being younger. And Adams is so established as far as starting with the Red Bull, staying with the Red Bull family organization, going from New York now to Leipzig, and just being extremely consistent. We've seen him struggle this year a little bit, but I mean, that doesn't take away from the fact of the type of player he is for the U.S. at the number 6. Now I have a comment rolling in right here from Michael Likert. I read a piece about Ricardo Pepe in the New York Times today. So with this game, Adam, there's a lot of interest, just even in general media, which is starting to happen now with U.S. soccer. Never used to happen in the past. Ricardo Pepe, I I saw it, so far with FC Dallas, he has 15 goals and 55 appearances across all, essentially all competitions with an MLS. And we know he has, I believe, 3 goals in 2 matches for the USMNT so far. What are your thoughts on him as the number 9?
Man, Brian, just to be honest with you, I'm nervous,
Okay.
like in a good way,
Yeah.
like I'm nervous because it's just like, it's one of those moments like who now, okay, we get to see who this guy is, like I love what we've seen so far. But I want to, see how he responds to this moment. Not like, does he score a goal, right? Like strikers can have great games and the ball just doesn't go in or you don't get the chance, but like
Sure.
how assertive and aggressive is he? Because I think that Mexico back line is going to go, let's pick on him. Let's get physical with him. Let's, honestly, just kind of like out muscle him in a way that kind of takes him mentally out of the game. And is he going to be the kind of guy that when that kind of pressure comes, does he step up and rise to that moment, right? Like mentally and physically, or does he go, oh crap? Because they're going to be talking smack to him, right? Like,
well,
in Spanish under their breath, like the crowd's going to be on him. The Mexican crowd's going to be on him. So like, we get to really figure out who Ricardo Pepe is tonight. I'm excited to see it, right? I'm a little nervous for him.
I think he's going to step up personally, just based off of his career, where he's come from, and the fact that I know all these guys, any offensive talent, anyone who has talent in attacking, final third, scored a boatload of goals in their youth careers. And, obviously Pepe's done that, but he's consistently, even at the age of 13, playing in, the equivalent now of USL, the like League Two. He scored multiple goals, like a dozen goals, and he's consistently done that to this point. So I do think he's a winner. I think he has the right attitude. You see him, it sounds cliche, but you see him off the field, off the pitch, talking in interviews, Adam, and he just sounds like he has a great head on his shoulder for his age, personally. I'd expect him to step up.
I mean, listen, the guy literally stepped into his first cap and balled out, right? Like,
yeah.
And that
you're not wrong.
That takes some it factor, to not be, and that
on the road, man, too. Yeah.
And that was a big moment, man. Like we were under pressure, right? Like we needed those points and we got down in that game and it was like the sky is falling.
He saved Berhalter's ass. Would you say that? I mean, do you think Berhalter would have been canned if
absolute 100% fact, 100% fact. And so that gives me a lot of hope, right? That like he's got some big cojones, man. Like he's not scared.
Big cojones.
But this is the big one, man, against like Mexico, which means a lot to him and his family.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed with young players that I coached, right? Like some really talented freshmen we had, is occasionally you throw them in and you knew they were going to be really good, and they get into certain moments and it would just be like a little bit too big for them at that time. Sure. And I'm just hoping that's not the case tonight, right? And I agree with you. I don't think it is. I think everything we've seen out of him points in the other direction. It points that he's gonna be up for it, and he's gonna give us an aggressive, assertive, really, really solid performance as a 9. And man, hopefully get on the end of something too.
That's what I'm hoping. And, guys, shout out to Gabriel Games joining USA All the Way, one of the OG subscribers of State of Soccer. Make sure you join Gabriel on this incredible journey with State of Soccer. We've picked up a lot of, just energy and awesome community so far. So Gabriel typically is correct, oddly correct. He guessed the exact score line, Adam, of the Nations League final. So I'm interested, Gabriel, what is your score line for tonight's match? I want to see it. I'll throw it up. Yeah, I know. It's pretty impressive.
Nations League final 3-2. That's a good guess, man. That was not.
I don't know if he had the whole, dramatics of
sure.
the saved PK and whatnot. Maybe in his mind he was conjuring that up, but he definitely did predict it. So very, very good. A great member of the State of Soccer community. And of course, out on the wings, we'll say it again. We're going to have Brendan Aarons on the left wing and Timothy Weah on the right wing. Thoughts on both of those players? I'm more interested in what your thoughts are on Weah. A little bit unproven, a guy who's shown brilliance, someone who's had injuries in the past, but he's playing in Ligue 1, playing very well. Thoughts on him?
Yeah, this was the move for me. I think it just had to be. I think that especially if you're going to go Yedlin, right? Like throwing Yedlin and Areola out there just really takes one side out of the attack, in my opinion, right? Like it would have been really hard to build on that side and develop offense on that side. And so I think, throwing Weah in there is going to be, I think 80 to 90% of what Areola does defensively. both pressing and even dropping back and making plays, getting back, into our own third. And then I think he's, twice the player Weah is, at least offensively, in terms of his actual ability and skill. And so I'm excited. I think Weah is going to have a big moment tonight. I don't know if it'll be a goal, an assist, like drawing a penalty. I think he's going to cause Gallardo a ton of problems, right? I think like that's, for as good as Gio is and as many problems as Gio caused Gallardo in that Nations League final, Weah is really problematic with his pace. And I think that they're very exploitable across the back line, but on that left side with Gallardo, they're very exploitable. They can be pressed there. They can be attacked there. And so I'm excited to see Weah there.
It's a displaced Mexican back line. A lot of players injured, and Gallardo is probably the weak point at left back for the El-Tri, the Mexican national team, and Weah would be exploiting that directly. Another guy, if he plays up a little bit, is Deandre Yedlin with a lot of pace, and we saw Yedlin deliver a couple of really good balls in past qualifiers. A guy who, is extremely quick, struggles a little bit 1v1. Likewise for the U.S., Adam, do you worry a little bit about them on the defensive end with, Walker Zimmerman, Robinson, and especially with Yedlin kind of being plugged in?
Yeah. I mean, that front line just has to scare you, right? I don't know if you saw. I saw on ESPN the Mexico lineup did drop, and front line's exactly as we thought it would be and knew it would be, right? But like, yeah. So my hope is we can kind of overrun them in midfield enough to make it hard to get those guys the ball in the spots that they want it, right? And then when they do get the ball, we need to do a good job. I feel like Mexico has done a great job against us with Pulisic, like taking Pulisic out of the Nations League game. And I think other people have done this with Pulisic as well, where every time he gets the ball, it feels like there's two bodies around him, right? And I feel like with their wingers, we need to, tactically just make sure when they do get the ball, there's a couple bodies there and they're not just running head on at Walker Zimmerman, right? Like that's trouble for it. And as good as Miles is, I don't want them running head on at Miles either 1v1. We need to prevent that as much as possible. It's just not a good equation.
Yeah, I would say I have the most confidence personally in Anthony Robinson and Miles. So if it's that left side of the back four, I have a lot of confidence. And they'd probably go in against Tecatito, Corona most likely. Lozano would be situated out on the left side, which really scares me, especially with him cutting in and his abilities there. We have a couple comments rolling in. X-Ray Hawk, who is an El-Tri fan, who's also another great subscriber and member of the community, stating, y'all low-key sleeping on Gallardo. He has been starting since before the last World Cup. He has a ton of experience. Experience he does have, but I want to see your thoughts, X-Ray. Comment if you think he's the weak point in the back four, despite his experience. Him
and Chaka watching it, man. Like I watched most of their World Cup qualifiers, watched a lot of those two guys. And I said this in a tweet today. Like, I think Gallardo's a solid player, right? But I mean, he has made a lot of errors. He's made a lot of errors and a lot of, dumb plays. And honestly, both of those guys are very susceptible to turning the ball over. That's just a fact. Like, I don't know how else to say it watching them, right? They're not horrific soccer players, but they turn the ball over a lot. And, if those were our outside backs, I would be really, really worried given how many mistakes they have made.
It's just, do we have the experience and overall ability to capitalize on those turnovers? You saw the last time we played against Mexico, the amount of missed chances that the U.S. had was abysmal. Despite that win, I believe it was. I saw highlights. I don't know if it was the Gold Cup or Nations League. I think it was the Gold Cup final. The amount of missed chances we had, and obviously Sargent's on the field. Ariel on the field.
Nations League 2, Brian. Nations League 2 for sure.
There you go.
I did a video today just kind of breaking down all of our counterattacking opportunities after we turned them over. And it was pretty overwhelming. Like, we didn't do a great job of converting in the moments that we did turn them over in the Nations League, right? Like, we did win a couple corners off of it, and then the corners were good news for us, and we won the penalty off of it. But it was low. Like, we need to be way better and way more proficient when we turn them over at making good stuff happen. And it's soccer, right? You're not going to do it every time. We just need to be on the whole, good about immediately looking downfield and going forward and connecting passes and like making them pay for those moments, right? There's only going to be a certain amount. You're not going to turn them over 20 times in bad spots. You're going to get maybe 4 of them, right? And so we've got to, make sure. And that's why I like Weah being on the field. I think in that moment, he's going to give us more quality than Areola would. but we've got to make sure and take advantage of it right in that moment.
And I agree. And also Pepe, the one thing that Ricardo Pepe does have is an incredible positioning. And he has scored the majority of his goals inside the box for FC Dallas. I think it's like 70% of his goals have been scored inside the box. And a lot of that is due to his positioning. And a lot of that is due to the defenders in MLS making a lot of errors. Nothing against Pepe, but with him cleaning up inside the box and having a kind of a keen, eye for goal there. I have a comment rolling in from Jody Davison. Welcome to the show, Jody, stating, if we win tonight, do you think the Twitter calls for Berhalter to be fired will die down? That's if we win. If we lose, I want to hear both sides of your opinion.
Like the people who are like hardcore Berhalter out, which I'm not really a big Berhalter supporter. I wasn't a supporter when he was hired. I wasn't a supporter in 2019. Like my whole kind of evolution of this went in 2020. I was like, you know what? It was year one, and like I'm over it, right? I'm over that I didn't like the hire. Now let's give him a shot, And I think as the years gone along for me, I've tried to be really fair and balanced with my analysis of him and my thoughts on him. And I don't want to fire him because I think if you don't have a ready-made replacement who is better, it's a lot of drama in the middle of a World Cup qualifying campaign, And like this is it. Like for me, like this is kind of it, unless stuff gets really bleak. This is our guy, and we're rocking with him this cycle, and like I'm over that, right? I still can critique his decisions. I think that's just a part of being a fan, right? I do that to all my favorite teams across sports.
Yeah.
But so no, I mean, I don't think he's going to get fired, and I don't think the calls for him to be fired are going to die down. The people that are on that hill aren't going to move off that hill very easily.
That's the thing. Look how long Mexico took to hire someone, even the USA in their search to hire an individual. I mean, that was going on for months and months and months, and the amount of rumors that are being thrown around. The only guy I would hope is that, cross your fingers that someone like a Jesse Marsch over, at Red Bull Leipzig continues to have issues, but I wouldn't want that, and gets hired by the USMNT, because I ultimately think he's going to be our coach that takes us to the next level. That's my prediction, but.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anybody out there right now that I feel like, oh, cool, Bob Bradley, like that definitely solves our issues. Like that feels a lot like last cycle to me, which I don't like, like.
I agree. I'm going to open up the lines, Adam, to have a little fun before the game starts. We're here about 20 minutes away from kickoff. So I'm going to open up the lines and throw up the number here. 1 second, guys. I just had the banner created. One more question I have for you while I'm working on this is the home field advantage or lack thereof. Do you think the U.S. is going to have home field advantage tonight, or do you think we're going to see a lot of Mexican supporters in the crowd?
I actually think we will, based on the feel in the Columbus games in the past. I think that this is a good kind of area of the country. I know there's been a lot of controversy over the last 4 hours. I'm not even going to get into that, but like I think it's a good area of the country for us in terms of creating a pro USA crowd. But man, Mexico travels and Mexico comes out. Like they will have a massive supporter base at the game. My hope is it's not, where was the Nation League's final? Like Denver, right? I hope it just isn't Denver. It's not, overwhelmingly pro El Tri. So yeah, gosh, I hope so, man. I know a lot of guys that are out there, and a lot of people are down at the game, and I hope we can, create that atmosphere that I feel like we used to create in Columbus.
That's what I'm ultimately hoping. So, guys, I have this little swinging arm right here. So we're going to take some calls. If you guys want to call in, 267-915-2932. Adam, are you a Jersey guy or more New York? You're upstate or more northern Jersey?
Central Jersey, Union County, New Jersey, kind of where I grew up. Yeah.
So you're familiar with Philadelphia and New York talk show? I loved your comment earlier. First time caller, long time listener.
First time caller, long time. Yeah. That was like the thing I used to say when I was 16 and called in. I heard other old guys say it. I didn't even know what it meant.
So if you guys want to call in, if you have any comments about tonight's match before we get started, please call in the whole entire duration of the game. We will also be having live call-ins as well as post-game. Something we do that's a little bit different here on State of Soccer that I haven't seen. I actually got the idea from Ryan LFC, who's a Jamaican YouTuber. Really good channel too. If you want to give him a shout out, please do. But I'll connect here, and you guys are on. If you want to give us a call, if you have any thoughts about tonight's match, any concerns, let us know.
Hey, so something tactically, I think, just to kind of look out for. I've been trying to dive into like how we attacked them in the Nations League. Obviously just interrupt if there is a call for sure, but
yeah,
we pressed them in a way that we really were pushing the ball, I think, kind of wide into the really small side of the field against the sideline, and then we did a really good job of pressing Gallardo and Chaka there and creating a lot of disruption. So I'm going to be interested to see how hard we press early, and if we're kind of employing the same tactics where we're looking to go exploit those guys. Canada did a nice job of the same exact thing.
interesting.
So I think that's kind of one thing to look out for tonight tactically.
Is the press early on?
Yeah, the press early on, how hard both teams press early on. Mexico came out against us really hot too, and we came out really hot against them.
We have a call, Adam. We have a call in. First call of the night.
Hello?
Hi, you're on. Who do we have joining us today?
You have X-Ray Hawk.
What's up, X-Ray? How's it going, man?
How's it going, man? How you guys doing?
Pretty good. Hey, Adam, you can hear everything too?
I got it, man. Yeah.
Awesome. Not much, X-Ray. What's on your mind today for El Tri? I know you're an El Tri supporter, but what's going on?
Yeah, just looking at the lineups, I thought it would be pretty interesting if you guys can break it down player by player, position by position, and you guys say who's better, like Zach Steffen, Ochoa, and you can compare them, say who's better. I kind of want to see that analysis.
Yeah, no.
I don't know if you guys can do something like that real quick.
Let's see if we can. Can you shoot me over the starting 11 for Mexico, because we're having some issues finding it before?
Yeah, actually, I have it up. I'll give you.
Okay.
Why don't you share your screen,
Goalkeeper?
Adam?
Yeah, I can say the matchups if you want. It's on ESPN if you want to look for it real quick, Brian.
Yep.
Find it on ESPN. So yeah,
let's start with goalkeeper. Let's do that first.
Ochoa, Steffen. I'll go Ochoa. I don't know where you're at on that.
Right now, just due to his experience, World Cup experience, and kind of being, is he wearing the? He's not wearing the captain armband. I'm sure tonight, but he is the unofficial captain of El Tri. I'll go with Ochoa.
Yeah, I will as well. Let's just do center backs on the whole, not player by player. So Zimmerman and Miles, or Vasquez and Dominguez, which is a very inexperienced pair, but it's not like Miles and Zimmerman are that experienced themselves. So I go with our guys there, but honestly, it might just be ignorance, right? I haven't seen those two guys play at all. So
it's tough. For me, Vasquez has shown a lot in Serie A. He's a good player. So
he's with Genoa, right?
Yeah, he is. He is.
I saw one of their games against Venezia, and he was pretty good in that game, I believe.
Nothing against MLS, but the competition he's going in week out, and how they've actually been performing. They're having an incredible season so far, and a lot of it is due to him in the center back position. I go with Vasquez.
Let's go. Gosh, Robinson. I'm just going to pair them again. Robinson and Yedlin, and Gallardo and Chaka.
Ooh, you first here. I'm getting another call in. We'll get to you in a minute here after this call.
That one's tough, man. I go push there. I don't. Yeah,
I have to see the lineup right now for Mexico. Do you have it in front of you? You can share it real quick.
Yeah, I do. Can I share my screen?
Let's take this call, and we'll get back to that one, because I do want to get back to that X-Ray Hawk. So I appreciate that. Hey, joining State Soccer, who's calling in?
Yeah, I don't know why Coach Berhalter gets so much abuse. What's the problem with that? Because I think he's a pretty good coach.
I guess you could overall say his. Who do we have joining us here?
Oh, I'm Brad.
Brad, nice to meet you.
I enjoy your podcast. I really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, Brad. Thanks for calling in. When it comes to Greg Berhalter, he gets a lot of abuse because I think it's his player selections, the personnel that he brings into camp. Camp after camp, Brad, there seems to be a couple people who are missing. This camp, it was John Brooks. In the past, it's been, other players that have the ability, obviously, and been performing overseas in Europe. That being said, he seems to call up the typical cast of Paul Arriola, Sebastian Lletget, Zardes. It just appears that way. What are your thoughts there, Adam? I mean,
yeah, it's a good point. I definitely see that side, right? I think, gosh, he gets a lot of slack, and he does, but there's a couple specific reasons. I think one, the hiring process by which he was hired, and the fact that his brother seems to have played a big part in it. I think a lot of people have issues with that.
True.
So I think there's a lot of it roots from there, right? And then I think in 2019, he really went hard with Will Trapp and keeping Michael Bradley involved. And a lot of people just hated that. They wanted us to move on, and they wanted us to kind of move into this younger generation. And I think a lot of the stuff that people have taken issue with, Jackson Ewell staying involved, all the guys you just said, it's all kind of a carryover from that 2019. One, it's kind of like old guard USMNT recycle.
Mm-hmm.
That's how a lot of people feel about it, right? It's like, oh, same old USSF. And then the way he like recycles MLS players, it's like, up, same old USSF. And the younger part of the fan base really wants us to move on from that. And they want us to move into an era where we go more Eurocentric and we go more with these guys who are playing at a higher level. So that's the root of it, right? Whether you agree, disagree. I agree with a lot of the critiques on Berhalter. I do think it goes over the top sometimes, though. But yeah.
I think a lot of it's spawned out of excitement too, Adam. We finally have a group of players. We have players across the world. We have depth at every position. And Brad, that's the biggest thing, is that these guys, the depth we have, and he continues to play specific players over other players, scratches your head.
And listen, tactically, and
I agree with what you're saying, and I appreciate it. And by the way, thanks a lot. It's a great service. Enjoy the program, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Brad. The other point I'll make on this too is he just for every time I think he's taking steps forward, because that's really what I wanted to see out of him is growth. He does something like the Panama setup, which in my eyes, at this time before the Panama game, I was like, this is flawed. This is just so flawed. You could see it. And I think the Honduras setup was similar, just like the first half setup where we just kind of threw out this random formation we hadn't played with guys who hadn't played together in it. And there was just no cohesion. And so it's this, every once in a while, he throws out this confusing, confounding thing that just makes you go, what is this? Like, come on, man.
It's not an experiment anymore, because this is World Cup qualifiers. And the game that really got under people's skin was Panama.
Yeah.
And obviously that away match, the specific players he picked in that match, there were some restrictions as far as Panama being a red country and not having guys. And, I know that was an issue at play. But even his wording, his choice wording about how they essentially went down there for a point, he admitted that. He ultimately did. That was a bad move. And I think right now he's kind of playing catch up. And the roster tonight, though, I'll say for Berhalter, is a good roster. I have really no qualms. I have no issues with it. So we'll keep it at that, Brad. I appreciate the call. Guys, 267-915-2932. Call in if you have anything to say. We'll be rolling right into the live coverage of USA versus Mexico here shortly in about 8 minutes. Adam, a couple more comments we have. Tamale Killer, another great member of the community, stating, Scally not on the roster tonight. Why? Cannon hasn't played and was red carded in his last game. He's not in any form. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, Berhalter comfort zone, man. Like Berhalter is a coach. I think there's some coaches who are more adventurous, right? And a little bit more bold and willing to kind of go with some things that they don't know quite as well. And that is not Greg. That is not his style. Like, he is comfort zone city, and Cannon is a guy he's really comfortable with. Even if Cannon's not in form, Greg's more comfortable with him, right? That's why we have Roldan in the camp. That's why we have Ariel in the camp. And I think Greg knows that there's better, more talented guys, but he very much loves to sit in his comfort zone as a coach in terms of roster selection and lineup selection, I think.
Couple predictions rolling in. I want to get to Gabriel Games' prediction, not to discredit Med the Rockstar's prediction. Pepe and Aronson score and USA wins 2-0. That's the score line. We haven't seen that in a couple years, right? But I mean, that was the old
2014 cycle, right?
I was at that match, actually. I drove I was in college at University of Pittsburgh, and I rented a zip car. This was how crazy I was to get to the match. I rented a zip car, Adam, and drove to Columbus and came back that same day.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
And you were driving through the mountains of West Virginia trying to get there. It was a lot of fun, but that was an amazing night.
It's a big move.
Huge move. Sat with the American Outlaws right in front of, we saw obviously Donovan and Eddie Johnson scored that night. Gabriel Gaines. We have a couple more comments here before we move on. 2-1.
And then Landon Donovan didn't make the roster, by the way. So, but yeah, keep going.
He didn't. Yeah. Talk about
different combo for a different day.
Honestly, I gotta say, I was a Klinsmann guy up until that point. Personally,
Me too.
That's where he lost me.
Same.
2-1. USA winning by header or a free kick. Very specific. Gabriel Games likes to be specific, so let's see if that's what is pulled off here. Guys, we have time for one more call. We have 6 minutes until I roll into the next stream, and then Adam will be joining us again for the post game. Adam, where are you watching today? You're just at home chilling?
At home, man. I got 3 kids. They're all upstairs sleeping, and I'm hoping they don't wake up and come bother me during the game.
Are they soccer players or fans themselves? Or
my daughter's 6. She played soccer for the first time this year and liked it.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually went over to one of the women's national team games in Connecticut, one of the warm-ups, which is cool. She loved it.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Guys, 267-915-2932. We still have to answer X-Ray Hawk's question about, so if you're going to throw up that, we'll add this out of the stream right here.
Yeah, so, we've kind of gotten through. I gave them keeper. I gave us center backs. I said push on the outside backs. What about just midfield on the whole, just to kind of save time?
Can you zoom in a little bit there, Adam?
Yeah, absolutely.
If not, I can see it.
No. Yep. Zoom in here.
The big ones is Edson Alvarez versus Tyler Adams, and I think ultimately right now Alvarez has the nod with how he's playing for Ajax. Ultimately, I think potential wise, I give the nod. I think it's Adams with him having the captain's armband, with where he's at in Germany. I think he will make a move to the Premier League at some point in time. And the consistency, how consistent he has been despite his injuries. What are your thoughts there?
I think, when I go midfield on the whole, I think I've never gone into a midfield thinking we have a chance to win the midfield against Mexico in my entire life. And we have a chance tonight. I think Mexico still has the edge because of experience. I think, Herrera and Alvarez just, have a boatload of experience between the World Cup and playing together and all the reps they have together. Romo's Romo. It's fine. He's, throw him in there. It's, he'll do what he does. But I think those two guys naturally make me think Mexico has the edge, but I actually think it's way closer to a push. And my prediction is our midfield outplays them. I think the athleticism of our midfield overwhelms them, and I think we just get after them. And I think for the first time ever, a USMNT midfield kind of wins the game for us.
I have to agree with you. I mean, you have Hector Herrera, who's not getting a lot of time at Atletico right now, and a guy who's old. He has the experience. We're talking about experience, with El Tri here. He's older. He's not getting reps. He's not getting a lot of time with Atletico Madrid. And I think right now, the dynamic duo of Musa and McKennie, I think you're right, Adam. I think that we win the midfield. When we're talking about, in the 4-3-3, the attacking end, and we're talking about, Aronson, Pepe, and Weah versus Lozano, Jimenez, and Tecatito, I think ultimately you give it to Mexico, and it's really no question there, personally.
Yeah, the front line's not even a question mark, and I think that could be the downfall of this game for us. If we give that front line too many chances, they're going to take advantage of it. That front line can put up 3 goals like that. We saw that with Tecatito's goal in the first minute and a half against us in the Nations League. Like, you just can't make mistakes, and so that worries me. Yedlin mistake prone. Miles made that mistake against Costa Rica that would have been a goal if it's one of these 3 guys, right? And even Anthony is not always great with his feet. He can lose the ball. So that makes me a little bit nervous. And I think that matchup, their front line against our back line, we have to make sure that we can give up a goal or 2, but they can't just run wild, And so if we can do that, if we can contain that front line and force them into bad situations and not give them easy ones, and then it's okay, let's get the ball to our midfield and let's get it upfield and attack their weak spot, which is their back line. It could be
this is a really even matchup right now. If you throw Reina in there, if you have a more experienced number 9 for the U.S., if you have Brooks in there, in my opinion, who wasn't called up, that's on Berhalter. But if you have Brooks in there and you have Dest in there instead of Yedlin, I give it to the U.S.
I give it to the U.S. Absolutely.
You do, but right now I could arguably give it to Mexico tonight, and I hate to say it. So it's really going to be, but it's on U.S. soil. It's going to be a very, very even matchup. Predictions, real quick. We have 2 minutes before the start of the game. We're rolling to the the match show. What are your predictions?
My heart prediction is 2-1 U.S. My head prediction is 1-1 or 2-1 Mexico. I might just be saving myself from hurt by saying that, but they're good. They're good. We undervalue how good they are sometimes. They're really good. They have a lot of reps together. They have a lot of experience. This is a well-schooled team. This is a knockout stage World Cup team, right? A lot of these guys. Yeah. I hope we can fight it out and claw it out and get a 2-1, which I think we can. It's going to be that kind of game, though. It's going to be 2-1 either way, 1-1, 2-2. It's going to be something like that.
I'm going to go with a 3-2 narrative, similar to Nations League. I mean, you said it. You said it. What the ability of Mexico to score goals, but our ability and don't minimize Christian Pulisic coming off the bench late in the match. A guy who has Mexico's. We didn't talk about him at all during this pregame. You know, that's doing a disservice to him. And I kind of forgot that he's in the picture. He can come off the bench. Our best player
He's
the
X factor in this game, right?
Like, he is. Maybe Lainez too for Mexico. That's the other guy who,
he's not on the roster, right?
Oh, he's not on the roster this time. You're right.
Yeah, which is amazing. I tweeted that earlier. I was
he's
clipping
not?
a video clip from him last time, and I was like, yeah, he didn't call Lainez in. I was like, thank God, thank you.
Wow.
Tata. Thank you. Oh my gosh. But
yeah, Tata's playing for a job too.
Pulley is like the super Lainez, right? Like him coming off the bench is like a super Lainez. That is an X factor in this game. That is it's not a strong backline in general. It's not an experienced backline that's played together at all. And then you have Christian Pulisic coming at you with fresh legs at the 70th minute. Like I would not be shocked at all if that spurs, a late goal for us. Maybe it's 1-1 at that point. Yeah. That's the optimistic side, right? It's 1-1 at that point, and Pulley comes in and creates something, and we take it 2-1. That's a big edge for us. Whether we're down 1 or it's tied or we're up 1, bringing him in at the end is just that's going to be monstrous.
And that could ultimately, at a point where it's an equal situation, he ultimately could push us in the right direction to win the match. All right, Adam, I'm going to end it there. We're going to roll right into the watch along. I appreciate you guys for joining us. Adam, any words to say before we see you actually post match? But for now,
hey. Go USA, man. Let's go get it. I'm so pumped for this, and see you guys post game.
We'll see you guys post game. Follow my other link. It's on my Twitter. In order to get there, you can see it at state_of_soccer. While you're there, give me a follow, and we'll roll right into the match watch along. See you guys soon. Take care.